So hello students, I left you in the previous video with a question, right? And the question was what was the contribution of evolution when Bryophyta are evolved from the algae. First of all, we have to understand the green algae, the most advanced algae, and in green algae one of the most advanced one are Chara and Nitella, the stone words. And the Chara and all, they are trying to show one thing, very interesting thing, and that is about they are having jacketed and protected sex organs. So now you have got the hint that what could have been the interesting and new feature in the case of Bryophyta, because they are green, they are photosynthetic, those things are fine, okay, but the main thing which was introduced into Bryophyta was they are the first embryophyta. First embryophyta. Phyta means plants, embryo means embryo forming. So first time in plant kingdom the embryo formation started with Bryophyta. Now do not get confused with the word Bryophyta and embryophyta. Embryo is different thing. Bryo's word means mosses. Mosses are the representative organism of Bryophyta, and that's why the name comes Bryophyta. It has nothing to do with the word embryo. Okay. Second thing, so they have evolved with two new features from algae. First, they are the first embryophytes, which was missing in algae, and second thing is they are having jacketed sex organs. So when they were evolving and they were asked to request God that what you can give us new, and what were they requesting and asking for? The jacketed sex organ. Above all, vascular tissues were not there, many things were, fruit formation was not there, seed formation was not there, and what did they ask for? Jacketed sex organs. Even in cricket, let's say, they were having abdominal guard much before the helmet. They also recognized that head is also important part. They took a long time to understand that. Jokes apart, what I'm trying to tell you is that jacketed sex organs are very crucial feature, because you protect your sex organ means you have better chance of producing gametes, means better chance of fertilization, means better chance of progeny formation and survival. Okay, so with this note we move to the details of Bryophyta. So where are they? The habitat part, where are they located? They are on the banks and shores, right? They are just near to the river bodies. They are in the moist areas, shady areas, and they are technically terrestrial but very close to the water bodies. Okay, and hence they are called as amphibians of plant kingdom, because they are very close to the water bodies and they require water for fertilization. And not only fertilization, they require the water for the development of their gametophyte also. Okay, but main thing is they require water for fertilization, because they are anthrozoids, the male gamete in simple sense, they reach to the female gamete with the help of water. That's why. Okay, so now we know why they are amphibians of plant kingdom. Okay, they grow in shady, moist places, and they have thalloid plant body. What is the meaning of thallus? Thallus or thalloid means that they cannot differentiate their body into root, stem, leaves. They don't have that such kind of thing. Okay, they don't even have true leaves, true stem. Okay, because to be called and regarded as a true stem, true leaf, true root, they need to have vascular tissues. It's like stamp, ISO certified, that now you have vascular tissue, then we'll call you true roots. You're certified. They get respect in their society, in plant kingdom, when they achieve that phenotype or the character. Like you're buying some big car and all, then you get respect from your society people. The similar thing in plant kingdom, when they achieve the vascular tissue, then people call their roots as true root, otherwise they are root-like structures. If they achieve that in the vascular tissue in the stem and leaf, then they are called as true stem, true leaf. Otherwise you will call it rhizoid, colloid, phylloid kind of structure, means root-like, leaf-like and stem-like structures. Okay, so let's move forward. They are thalloid body, means they don't have proper root, stem and leaf. Okay, then as we move to the next thing, which is the basic true roots. As I told you, true roots are absent over there, but they have rhizoids. They are rhizoids, can be unicellular or multicellular. Unicellular you will find in liverworts, multicellular mostly you will find in mosses. Okay, now these rhizoids can be branched, unbranched. It depends on the species to species. And what is the job of rhizoid? They absorb water, mineral, similar, and anchorage also. They help in the holding the plant body to the substratum, in the surface. Okay. Then as we look at the basic life cycle of Bryophyta, what is there? In the basic life cycle of Bryophyta, you will see that here you will observe that there is a gametophytic body, female and male gametophytic body or branch is shown over here. And in female one, you will observe that they will have archegonia. Archegonia means female part. Okay, gonium, archegonium, this is related to female reproductive structure. In archegonia, you will have a egg. Egg is protected and covered inside the archegonia's jacket. Okay, and they will have stalk-like structure which is attaching the archegonia. Then they will have venter area, and then they will have a cover. Okay, then you will see on this side, on antheridium side, on male side, anther word is related to male reproductive organ. So antheridium is surrounded by some paraphyses. We call it paraphyses. Paraphyses are small filamentous structures. They protect and cover the antheridiums so that they are not damaged, as well as they absorb the moisture and water, so that whenever the sperms are released, they will get some moisture so that they can move forward. Okay, so that is a supporting role kind of function they play over there. Now, so antheridium will have androcytes. They will produce sperms, male gametes. Now male gametes here are called as antherozoid. Zooid word is related to motile things. Zooid. These terminologies are for the motile things. Anther is for male reproductive part or male reproduction related. So antherozoid means motile male gametes. Okay, so don't need to by heart, you have to understand, break it down, and then you understand the terminology. Antherozoids in the Bryophyta are mostly two-flagellated. We call it biflagellated. These flagellas, obviously they will help them to swim through the water because they need water for fertilization, and they will reach to the archegonia and then fertilize the egg. So that's what you will see, sperm with the help of water of the river and all, or they will need rain for the water. Their rain will supply the splashes. When splashes of rainwater comes on the antheridia, then the sperms will come out, splash out. And when they splash out, some of them by chance will fall down in the areas of or in the branches of archegonia, near to the archegonia. And then some of them will reach to the archegonia. Now from archegonial side, they actually cover the egg and protect the egg with the ventral canal cell and neck canal cells in the archegonia. But the time of sperm or the male gametes entry in their surrounding triggers that the ventral canal cell and neck canal cell will be disrupted, disintegrated, and then they will release a chemical structure. It's like they're releasing a perfume and telling somehow that the male gamete, you should come on this side, the female or the bride is waiting over here. Okay, so that kind of signal is given by the neck canal cells disintegration, and at the same time they clear the pathway to reach the egg through the neck area. Okay, so the male gamete is reaching there, and then with the chemical or the perfume secreted by the neck canal cell, it will reach to the exact position, and then it will swim and then crawl towards the egg and meet the egg and form the zygote. Now what happens after formation of zygote? Obviously the zygote will multiply here. They are the embryophytes. So zygote will not undergo meiosis. This will undergo mitosis, equational division. It will be keep on dividing and form an embryo. Embryo will grow further. The embryo's lower part will take nourishment from the mother like we do in humans, right? So it will take the nourishment from the mother, female gametophyte, and then that embryo will slowly grow and flourish on upper side, where it will push and create pressure on the venter, and it will break the venter's wall, and then it will come out as a setae and capsule. And some part of the ventrous wall will come, or the jacket will come along with the capsule, and capsule will be covered by that cover which is coming from venter, female gametophytic part, which is always haploid, and the capsule is sporophytic part. So some people get confused when they ask that this cover, which is also called as calyptra. Calyptra is cap-like structure. So what is the ploidy level of this calyptra? So people think it is covering capsule, and food, seta and capsule are the sporophytic body which is derived from the embryo's mitotic division. So embryo by mitosis will form the sporophytic body, which has three parts. Food, which is inside the gametophytic part, taking the nourishment from the gametophytic body. Then seta, taking it upward, and then you can release and project the spores through the capsule. So capsule forms the spores, okay, and then they are released through the capsule. Now if you look at the liverworts, then elaters help in releasing the spores. In anthoceros and all, okay, onwards you will see that pseudoelaters also help in releasing the spores. And in case of mosses, the most advanced and most elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal is observed in mosses. Their peristomium teeth, which are surrounding the capsule's opening, and those teeth will open up in the dry season, and when they open up, with the push of wind, will release the puff of entire spores. Okay, so this is the way the spore dispersal occurs. So when we'll observe, the next part is food, seta and capsule, which is derived from the gametophyte. Okay, means in gametophyte it is taking nutrition and all. Embryo forms the food, seta and capsule. Capsule forms spore mother cells. Spore mother cells will undergo meiosis, and each spore mother cell will produce 4 haploid spores, tetrad. Okay, each spore at maturity will be ready to be released through the peristomium teeth in the case of mosses. Okay, and when in dry season, in summer season, when the peristomium teeth, which are having hygroscopic nature, means they absorb water and retain water, but in dry season they lose water. When they lose water, they actually slowly open up, and then the spores which are ready to be released, with the push of wind, they are released, as I told you. Then the spores are released, and then in favorable condition, what happens? The spores will germinate into a new gametophytic body. But here, if you look at liverworts and all, the direct germination of spore occurs, means they will directly form the gametophyte. But if you go to the higher and more evolved bryophytes, then you will observe in case of mosses, it is indirect germination, means first they will form the juvenile gametophyte, we call it. Another name of it is protonema. Nema is related to the thread-like structure, filamentous structure. So protonema is formed, which is green filamentous haploid body, and it is having many branches, and slowly it will spread in that area. When it is broken down, then we call it fragmentation. By fragmentation, it will form the secondary protonema. Initial was primary, now secondary. Now in secondary protonema, a small bud-like structure is formed, and that will slowly develop into branches, and those branches will carry antheridia and archegonia on the apex of their branches, so that they can easily release the anthrazoid or male gamete, or they can easily capture the male gamete. So they have to be on the tip of their branches, the sex organs. Okay, you understood the logic why they need to be on tip, so that they can easily capture or release the male gamete. Okay, this is about the life cycle. So what we have studied: the gametophytic body, male and female sex organ, antheridia releases male gamete. With raindrop, the male gamete reaches to the archegonia, fertilizes the egg. Okay, after fertilization, it forms zygote by mitosis, it forms food which takes nutrition, then it forms setae, and then setae forms capsule. Capsule is covered with calyptra. In summer it will be gone. The capsule will form spores by meiosis. It will open up in the summers when the peristomium teeth, in case of moss especially, it will open up, and then spores will be released. Spores will germinate and form the protonema, and then secondary protonema, bud stage, and then again the gametophyte. This is the life cycle of moss, particularly, if you will observe. Okay, this is it about the life cycle part. Now we will try to understand the basic difference again between gametophyte and sporophyte. Okay, the gametophyte, obviously the name suggests, it will form the gametes, male and female gametes. Sporophyte, as the name suggests, it will form the spores. Okay, now in case of liverworts to mosses, means in bryophytes, you will observe that sporophyte initially, in the case of liverwort, totally dependent for shelter, food, water, everything. It is dependent on the gametophytic body. So you can say totally parasitic or dependent. Then slowly it starts forming its own food, so it becomes partial parasite as we move to the anthoceros or onwards to the mosses. In mosses it is even more developed, so only for the water part it is dependent on the gametophytic body. Okay, then the sex organ wise, if you look at gametophyte in mosses and in bryophyta, they are multicellular, they are jacketed, and in case of sporophytic body, they are not free living, they are dependent on gametophyte at certain level. Okay, then as we know that water is needed for the fertilization, so the anthrazoid will reach to the egg via water and it will fertilize. Gametophyte is, again I am repeating, dominant, green, haploid and independent phase in case of bryophyta. And if you look at sporophytic part, then sporophyte is diploid, recessive and partially dependent to completely dependent on gametophyte in case of bryophyta. Okay, if you look at the economic importance of bryophyta, what are the uses of bryophyta, then the mosses can be food for some herbs, herbaceous mammals, birds and small animals. Okay, apart from that, sphagnum, which is a moss, forms a pit. Pit is the condition when your long time, if organic matter is not digested, okay, or not used, then that is going buried down under the soil and slowly it goes below the level of in lower level of earth, and then because of the pressure and heat it gets all blackened up and it forms the peat. It can be used as a fuel like coal and all. Okay, so this is the pit which is formed by the sphagnum. Why it is not digested completely its organic material? Because it is living in the acidic or marshy areas. In marshy area, acidic pH does not allow other decomposers to decompose the sphagnum, and that's why it is still, its organic material is still retained there, which you can burn and gain some energy out of it, calories out of it. Okay, apart from that, sphagnum is having water holding capacity. It can hold huge amount of water, and that's why people in early days, they used to do transport through the ships, and that time they used to put their vegetables and fruits and all which are requiring the proper moisture and water in their surrounding, otherwise they are dried up. Okay, apart from that, we all know that along with lichens, mosses are the first one to colonize on the barren areas. So they are one of the pioneer in the case of terrestrial ecosystems establishment. Okay, and slowly they decompose the rock along with the lichen and then start the succession on rocks or on barren land. Apart from that, mosses, certain mosses, they form a dense network on the soil, so when heavy rain is there, they prevent the soil erosion too. These are the uses of certain bryophytes. Now, if we go in the classification of bryophyta, then three classes are there. Hepaticopsida. Hepatic word comes from the liver because the liverworts are having the shape, their thallus is of shape of liver lobes. Then second is anthoceropsida, where hornworts we call it, because they have a shape of horn, long horn, we call it hornworts. And anthoceropsida, because anthoceros is the famous example, classical example of that. Bryopsida, which are mosses. Basically in NCERT they have focused on liverworts and mosses, so we will be focusing on those two mainly. Okay, now in Hepaticopsida, first the plant body is thalloid, as I told you, thallus, where they are not differentiated to root, stem and leaf. Example you can take Riccia, Mackentia, these are there, and the thallus is dorsiventral, means dorsal and ventral side are not similar in their appearance. Okay, and they are closely attached to the substratum or the host surface. Very rarely in liverworts you will find leafy members. If you want a common example for liverwort, which is leafy, then example is Porella. Okay, if you look at the asexual reproduction in case of liverwort, then common is fragmentation and other one is gamma cups. The gamma cups are tiny structures which are green multicellular asexual structures, and when they are detached from the parental body, wherever they fall in favorable conditions, slowly they will flourish and form the new plant body or thallus. Okay, so gamma cups are associated with, if they ask, answer has to be liverworts. Okay, so they may ask sometime gamma cups, which of the following is not the character of gamma cups? They are non-green, multicellular, asexual and present in liverworts. So answer is non-green. False statement. Okay, now next part, if you look at the sex organs on the thallus body, then they can be on same plant or they can be on separate thallus. Generally they are on same thallus, okay, because they are homosporous. Okay, and very rarely you will see, like Mercantia you will observe, and NCERT has given diagram of Mercantia, so you will find that the Anthridiophore, which is male sex organ containing stalk, and the Archegoniophore, which will carry the female sex organ, are on separate thallus. Okay, now if you look at sporophytic part, food seed and capsule is there, and in capsule by meiosis you produce spores and they are released and they form the gametophyte. That entire life cycle we have already studied. Now we move to the Bryopsida part. Bryopsida is having mosses, the most evolved and most developed gametophyte. If they ask in entire plant kingdom, then answer has to be mosses. Okay, their gametophyte has two stages, as I told you in life cycle also. The first is protonema, which is having the thread like structure, long thread like structure, which are branched, greenish, filamentous, multicellular, photosynthetic. Okay, all these characters you should know, because they may ask which of the following is not the character of protonema or not true for protonema. Now, as I told you, protonema to primary to secondary protonema by fragmentation, and then it will form the bud stage, and bud will form the leafy stage. Leafy stage will carry the sex organs, and we have discussed this part already. Okay, vegetative reproduction, so fragmentation and budding are the two cases for the mosses. Okay, and all the things which are there in the life cycle of mosses we have already discussed in the life cycle part. Okay, so the last part which is left with mosses is their common example, which are Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. Okay, so here we stop this video, and in next video we'll be discussing the reptiles of plant kingdom, which are pteridophytes. Okay, so very soon we'll be uploading that video, which is going to talk about the first tracheophytes of plant kingdom, okay, which are pteridophytes. Have a good day.